Hey YouTube, Mochismo Eugene, another video from Exit Strategy. Welcome. I hope everyone is having a great morning. I just got up maybe an hour ago. Um, it's a Tuesday here in upstate New York. It's a beautiful day to be awakened. You know, we have to realize that that in and of itself is a blessing. Just start right there and just move accordingly. Just start right there, you'll be fine. Sometimes we wake up and you can make progress and you will digress and you will regress. And you'll feel like you're not doing as much as you could have been doing, or you haven't done as much the day before as you are doing today, and vice versa. These are just thoughts, these are just things based on the fact that you're in a post-awakened state. It doesn't matter how many videos you watch, it doesn't matter how much information you gather. At the end of the day, you're a human being. Never forget that. And I'm speaking directly to someone, don't know who. It's just that I know from my own experience, you can always feel like this. You know, there's always times that this is a possibility, and when it does happen, don't sweat it. I don't miss the narcissists. I don't think I've ever missed them, but I do know I was affected by them, so that we share in common. And everybody won't feel the same way about narcissists on any given day. As it should be, we should be unique. But one thing we share in common is that this is a superpower unlike any other superpower in the world. If you are awakened to what narcissists are and narcissistic personality disorder as it pertains to their whole disconnected demeanor, you are ahead of the race, man. You are way ahead of the race. Just want to have a discussion with you guys this morning about the fact that you may ask yourself sometimes, how could I have been so stupid? Or how could I have been so blind? I've gone through this before, and some of you all have probably have been awakened for some time and ended up getting engaged or involved, connected with yet another narcissist at some point or another in life. But the difference is, as you got involved with those other relationships, it was probably the same identical cycle, just a different person doing it. This is why it's so uniquely and sophisticatedly different with each and every narcissist, because you being the empath, you approach each and every individual, whether you awaken or not. You approach a person with the whole idea that this person should get an opportunity to show their true colors. But by the same token, they should be given somewhat the benefit of the doubt. Now, that is not all wrong in and of itself, because in order to get to know someone, you have to let them, it has to play itself out. And what you end up finding out sooner rather than later is that it's the same pig with different lipstick. As we've discussed on the channels before, a lot of us have, in the 90 percentile of the world is they have a self-agenda. It may not always be vicious to the degree a narcissist is self-centered, but we're living in a society where it's self-preservation and get in where I fit in. Even if we don't readily think that we are that person or we are like that, if we do some soul searching and some deep introspecting, we can see that at one point or another in our life somewhere we had acted in that way. But a lot of us, the vast majority of the world, have formed and they've formed a habit out of it. It's a lifestyle, and it's so much of a lifestyle. It's normalized, and they don't realize that they're doing it. And what I'm talking about specifically is the self-centeredness. A lot of people will give, but they have the express pretense of uh, getting something reciprocated back, from the smallest thing to the largest thing. Um, we do something for someone, we are anticipating them saying thank you or showing some appreciation, whether we admit it or not. Case in point, who's going around doing something for people who are severely ungrateful, that are severely, extremely disrespectful as they're being uh, shown kindness? Well, in a big way, a lot of people are doing that to a fault, to people that are doing this back to them. This is the normalization of, I'll give you something of kindness and you can give me something of disrespect. This is how the world is run, and this is how the world is ruled. You see friends, young groupings of friends. They don't have true friendships one to another. The youngsters, the children, the youth are befriending one another uh, based on facades. And I think we all too have we grew up in that. It wasn't so pervasive as it is now, but it was there. You formed friends from early beginnings and till up to your 50s and 60s. Not anymore. People are forming friends on Facebook based on an exterior presence, uh, a portfolio, a resume of sorts. They want to be around or associated with people who are of status, who can get them to the next level. That in itself is not all bad, but wanting to elevate, like us empaths, we are here, we're rubbing shoulders with one another, and we want to elevate and help one another elevate. I think that is a noble thing, but even in this aspect, in this respect, we can actually uh, latch on to one another in a way where we begin to eat, breathe, and sleep one another's opinions and perspectives, to the point where we lose sight and view of what we need to do individually as a whole, rather than just take some advice from one another and move forward in our life. I guess that's the bigger point. In the world we're living in, you don't see it that way. Most people are self-preservation and self-seeking. And I guess it's safe to say a lot of us are following after the narcissist, the way of the narcissist. And the quickest way to disconnect and detach from that is to realize that this is in fact what is going on within our world, and then look and see where this is going on in our own life. And then you begin to gradually take steps back, gradually walk backwards. You step out of the matrix, you step out of that huddle. You don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to play in the reindeer games anymore. And when you do this, you begin to understand that individually you have a uniqueness that is unmatched by any other human being. And each human being can come to this conclusion for themselves. This is liberating. It is rewarding. It brings a peace. It brings a serenity. It brings a true self-worth. But it takes time. It takes time. It is not something that just poof and it happens. So the whole idea of how was I so stupid? How did I end up doing the same thing or making the same mistake? It is not something that you should commonly talk about within yourself. It's not a thought that you should entertain. Don't ask the question, or don't allow your thoughts to be plagued with the question of how could I have been so stupid. It should be, how am I able to capitalize and embrace yet another experience? Because there's always level of experiences that seem similar. There's always times when we'll go through something that seems so familiar to what we thought we had already learned and mastered. That's the beautiful thing about life too. I see some narcissists that I had been engaged with, and I use the word engaged, mean connected with. For all you guys don't know, when I say engaged, I haven't been engaged to anyone. I don't even think my first wife, I never did the engagement process. Maybe, I don't know. So I never did that. It was just like kind of wanting to get married, and I got married. Some planning was involved, but just mental planning. And so, yeah, I run into narcissists on the street, and I see, in fact, I ran into a narcissist that worked at the job I got terminated from. They were, in fact, I discovered once I got the job there, they don't remember you right away. Narcissists don't. It's amazing when enemies do you wrong. It's like the story of Joseph. His own brothers didn't even recognize him because they were so evil. They had put him out of sight, out of mind when they threw him in that hole. So this story goes along with that. And you'll find this too when you look back at so many people who did you wrong. You'll see them in the street, you'll see them in the stores and the highways and byways, and they won't even recognize you. It's just one is, well, I will tell you about the security guard girl, because I had another thought about the girl who got enraged and essentially kicked me in the head inside of my car. I'll talk to you guys about that story and give you an update on her, because God will just allow you to pass these people. So this is a bonus. You're getting a little bit of what I talked about earlier, and this is what I'm talking about now. How you see these narcissists that have mistreated you or did you dirty, and you see them. And so she ended up being a security guard. Once I got employed there, I realized that she was a security guard there, this girl in particular. And how I met this girl years ago, this is after the narcissist that I married. I was awake. I was awake and still growing into awareness of how to determine these people sooner rather than later. And I hadn't got there yet. So, and then the libido was still talking, as opposed to, the sole purpose of your manhood. So I saw her walking, and I inquired, yeah, what's going on? She's walking down the street. And she was like, yeah, you know how to change tires? And I was like, yeah, I do. She's like, can you change my tire? And I said, yeah, I have an impact wrench. I'll do that for you, since you asked me. Where you park? And she said, around the corner. So I go around, park my truck, get out, help her jack her car up, and take the tire off. I asked her, did she have a spare? And she was like, looked in the back and said, no, I don't have one. And I was like, wow. I said, well, I know this place that you can go and you can get used tires on the rim, but we would have to just go out and search for it. And I said, you want to do that if you trust me? She's like, yeah, I'll go with you. And so right then and there, how this person was trusting of me, there was no sign on my part that I should have not engaged with this individual. But hey, I did. So we went and we salvaged a tire from the place in which I'm talking about. And while we were out there salvaging a tire, they were just like, looking inside of all the cars, the salvage cars, and it was like a Disneyland to them. And they were just like, oh, well, this is great. And I was like, yeah, I like it out here. It's nice. And I say, maybe you can come here another time with me. Who knows? She's like, yeah, I like that. So it's kind of like a little cordial date. So I was like, took a tire back, changed it, and mind you, I was single, nothing going on at this point. So totally okay being at home by myself. But this particular time, I happened upon a female. So we got the tire, put it on her car, and she said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I said, yeah, I like to go on, hiking treks, which I do, the trails. I love it. That's one of my pastimes. I love it. I've met quite a few good people on the trails. Haven't been engaged with them, haven't dated them or anything, but I met a couple of good people on the trails. A lot of narcissists are on the trails too, so be careful with that. So change the tire, say sometime we could get together. So at one particular time, I think we ended up going to another trail, but we had to travel some distance in the car. And when we got there, we got on the walking trail. So we walked and we talked and just started talking, asking her questions about herself and vice versa. And just sharing a little bit, not too much, because at this point I'm awake and you don't want to give too much information away. And so I determined, she said she had a job, essentially giving me some slight sob story, like, I don't have money, I get paid, blah 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 blah. So I essentially bought the spare tire, by the way. See where this is going? So Mr. Fix It, right? So I bought the spare tire, it's like $20. And I took her to the trails and we walked and we talked. And in doing so, we went down by the stream and just listened to the water for a little while. And we talked a little more. And I was like, man, we should get going. Got up, we took off, and we walked back to the car, got in the car, I think drove back home, exchanged numbers. So we began to kind of like chop it up, getting to know one another here and there. And I think I went once or twice with her again somewhere. I don't remember where. It's very short lived. So what I'm getting to is the point where at one point I think I was intimate with her one time, and it was so robotic. And this is what you will readily determine with a narcissist. Intimacy is robotic with these people. There are occasions when some may be very, very, very good intimately, seemingly, but it will be a one-off. They won't have any continuity. They won't be consistent. It will readily go right back to a robotic. So some of them can fan it a little bit better than others, but for the most part, it'll be a robotic interaction. So nothing happened there, no sparks, no fireworks there. Disengaged, did what we did. And I think it came a time where she was talking about her car got impounded some kind of way, the same car. And I didn't know that this girl was just a hot potato. She held herself together. Just a real rebellious narcissist. And so she ended up saying the car was impounded. She had X amount of money, but she needed another amount to get it out. So I think it was like $190. And I was like, at this point, I'm already aware that this girl is just not the kind of chick for me. I'd already been intimate with her, not to be, to sound like I'm being like low down, but I wasn't interested in her in a big way after that, because like I say, it was a robotic interaction. You have to form bonds of some sort. Empaths, we have to have some type of telepathy with this person. That's my opinion, and I think a lot of us empaths will share that same sentiment. So she needed about 80 to $100, and I was like, I said it straightforward and deliberately. I said, listen, I can loan you $100. I said, but listen, are you gonna pay me back when you get paid? Me saying that and being firm about that, deep down inside of me, I knew I would never get my money back. I knew this. But in asking that question, remember when I said benefit of the doubt? This is where it plays a big part in us as empaths and chosen ones. Sometimes we will do our due diligence, but we will give that opportunity for a person to shoot their foot off. And this was one of those situations. Say, are you going to pay me back? Yeah, I'm going to pay you back. The passiveness. Yeah, I'm going to pay you back. As soon as I get it, you can actually, I'll give you extra. You don't have to give me extra. Just give me what you owe me. And so time comes around, and I said, do you have the money today? And this was over the phone conversation. They blew up. I'm going to give you your effing money. You keep on. What do you mean I keep on? This is the day that you said you would pay me. And see, you have to understand, they try to get you out of character. I knew this because I was awake already. to some degree and very aware of what was going on. So I didn't get hasty. Just kept a calm monotone. I said, yeah, you said that you would give me my money, and I told you I would give it to you. That was your words. And I knew at this point it was a loss. It was a lost cause. But I continued to entertain the conversation. And this girl got so belligerent on the phone. I don't need your effing money. You gonna keep hounding me about a little petty blah 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 blah. It's amazing how they discredit the value of what they owe you. It's nothing now. It's $100, but it's petty. Little piece of money, it ain't nothing. Why are you making a big deal? It's crazy, ain't it? And it's insidious. So I said, I knew I wouldn't get the money back, and I said, I gave you that in good faith. I'm not worried about it. Don't worry about it. And in saying this, you would have thought they would have had some kind of remorse. They got on the gas pedal of the insults. And this is what she said. And she's like, because in the beginning, she was like, she was with somebody and they wasn't together. He, blah, 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 going on about his business. He with somebody else. They will engage with a new supply while they're going through issues with their present boyfriend or girlfriend. This is something now we know, and we've known it, that we shouldn't engage with people who got a hot mess going on. We know this, but we're not perfect. We do it. We've done it. Hopefully we won't continue to do it. But anyway, I said, I knew I wouldn't get the money back. It's okay. I charge it to the game. She was like, oh, you ain't SHI and blah blah. Oh, my man, we gonna always be together. We ain't gonna never. And this was really, really ironic for her to admit. They will admit. They'll throw it in your face like cold water. We're always gonna be together. Yo, blah blah blah. You ain't this, that, and the other. It wasn't all that anyway. So they begin to diminish you as a human being. You ain't nothing, and sexually, you ain't this, you ain't that. And so it's comical. But that was a story, and I saw her when I got this job, in which I got terminated from the $60,000 a year job. And I saw her, but I didn't readily indicate to her, like, hey, I know you. I just kind of just went about my business. I would go past the security guard post, the little station they got, and some days she would be working there. One particular time I had to stop and give a piece of paper, so I handed it to her and I said, have a good day. It was just minimal. It wasn't engaging. It wasn't conversation. She was like, yeah, you too. So I'm wondering if she even remembered me. Now, the bigger point of this conversation about this incident, I saw this individual just yesterday walking through the plaza with a guy just walking down the sidewalk in the plaza. I had seen her last week as well, walking in that same plaza. It's a plaza in the area that I frequent. You have food places and whatnot. And I saw her. So this is like a couple of times I've seen her in the most recent couple of weeks. Now, what I'm surmising, guys, she looked at me a week ago and said, you from over there? You from over there? And what I surmised is that she's lost that job. Narcissists can't keep jobs. They'll destroy the employment of any and everybody at that employment place. They will assassinate a select amount of people. They'll do a cleansing, all for them to end up leaving the job. The HR lady, I'll give you to the end of 2024. I said this to her in my recorded interrogation initially. I told you guys I recorded it on my phone. I told her, you can hear me telling her this, you're gonna set this place afire and watch it burn, and you're gonna move on to the next place. And so I called her out on that. But 2024, short of calling her narcissist, of course, and I could have called her that. I don't know, maybe I did. But it doesn't matter. Someone would say, oh, you were salty. I don't think I was salty. I think it 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 was salty. they disgust me in a very subtle way, because I know all the things they've done and the things that they do to people straight away. And when you can see what they do to people and the person they're abusing can't see it, it churns your stomach. And so I don't surmise that she'll be there past 2024. And I ran into another guy that worked there. He worked in the lab area, so I didn't really have a lot of association with these guys working in the lab. But being janitor, when I came back off of my injuries and my surgery, I was able to go around the plant and I was able to see different people. And this was one of the particular guys that I got to know. And he didn't recognize me. I said, "You look familiar." I was sitting in front of the establishment eating a slice of pizza and drinking a soda and sitting on my scooter. And he was like, "No, you don't recognize me." He had this poker face. And he comes back out of the store and I said, "Yeah, I'm good with faces. I remember you." And I said, "You worked at, where I used to work." And I named the place and he was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he said, "I thought you were doing, you was panhandling money." I said, "Listen, man, how does that person look?" And I said, "I'll give you that, but listen, I'm out on a scooter ride." I say, "The scooter costs, X amount of money. I don't even fit that profile, but hey, I can understand you thinking that way." So we began to talk for a few minutes. We talked about 15 minutes, and he began to load me up with all the people that have gotten fired. And he mentioned this specific female that is causing a lot of wildfires there too. And in case in point, she is specifically one of allegedly a handful of girls that said I sexually harassed them. Her name keeps coming up because what they don't understand is she is a very, very disgusting, I don't know if she is a somatic narcissist, but she is the worst case of narcissist that I believe is in that spectrum, because she is more poison than a rattlesnake. She is so covert, but she is blatantly malicious with her narcissism. And it's ironic he mentioned that she has someone up on alleged sexual harassment charges. So I'm showing you a pattern of this girl. This is her go-to because her attention is embedded in making the same claim. And the people who are entertaining this foolishness, they know this narrative is probably has no weight. But the matrix we live in the society we live in, it doesn't have to be proven. So society says. But it's not even about having to be proven. I gave the case in point. Man says a woman is sexually harassing him. "Oh man, don't worry about that. You probably liked it." Woman says man sexually harassed her. Not up for debate. You're out of here. You're rolled up. You're this, you're that. Something will change. And I hope I'm here to see it. And maybe I'll be that one to make it a change or have an impact on it. I had excuse me guys, stomach growling, haven't had breakfast. I had always surmised that or I had always thought I should file a lawsuit, not because I'm salty about being fired. It was just a whole ethical obligation I felt shortly after this happened. It was so blatantly retarded the way that I was allowed to be terminated, and it was so unfounded. It was so baseless, and God has ordained me as a big mouth to use it in a way where nothing is going to get done unless you do it yourself. But I soon abandoned that thought about filing a litigation suit against them or a lawsuit. But it just keeps coming back, especially when I ran into this guy and he started talking. And so who knows, one day I'll probably do my own little private investigation, because I've ran into this individual on the trails weeks or a couple of weeks after I got terminated last year. And she was walking with her supposed husband and their dog. And I politely just said hi as I was passing, and delightfully they spoke back, hi. This is how disgusting they are. They'll smile at you and speak to you like they've never did anything wrong to you. So this is why it keeps coming up, because I'm running into people, and I didn't overshare with this guy about this or that. He was pretty much giving me his little spiel of this girl, and we never named her. He's like, what's that girl name? I couldn't think of her name at the time, and I think that was God protecting me, because this is what narcissists will do when they send flying monkeys. And he could have been a flying monkey without even wanting to be. They just like to keep things going in the air, the chaos. And so him asking me, ooh, you know who she is? And I was like, yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I said, but just tell me this story. And so he told me this story of this girl specifically. And I know her name, it came to my thought. And I told him, I said, yeah, this particular girl who I think you're talking about, I said, she wrote a note asking me to go and get her some jumpsuits from the crib, the what do you call it, the uniform crib. And she said she just needed one, so I ended up getting 3 because it was over in a whole nother part of the plant, and certain people would have to go way over there to get them. So I did the liberty. I got 3 of them. And what she did on the note, which I thought was telltale, you know how an ink pen doesn't want to write anymore? On this piece of paper, and I told him, I say, ironically, I was looking through my clothes the other day in my jacket, and I pulled this very note out, and I threw it on my nightstand. That note still sits on my nightstand. I would go get it, but really doesn't matter. The point is, she ascribed the note, and you can tell where, let's say if you were on a stranded island, you were doing an SOS, and you really, really needed this note to be transcribed or put into context so you could hopefully have someone find. She went out of her way to press into this piece of paper. This took concentrated effort, and it took an extra amount of time. So what I'm trying to show you is she purposely, deliberately, instead of abandoning that ink pen and going to get another one, because she probably couldn't leave her station, she was running a machine, she methodically made sure she scribbled that in there. I could barely read it, but you could see she was rubbing on top of, how you continue to write in and try to emphasize your writing. This is what I began to think about looking back in hindsight. Empaths, we do this. And so that told me, or that tells me, that this girl really wanted this note to be written. And it says, can you get me a uniform size, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Or thanks, Cal. And so that being the case, she was pretty much trying to set me up, even at that stage, because what she needed, or what she anticipated, was I was going to bring her the jumpsuit out into the plant, but I didn't. I got her 3 jumpsuits. They were already folded. I sat them inside of her locker, because in the ladies' room, which I had access to as well as the men's room, custodian, her locker would always be open constantly because you could see everything she had in there. And so I kindly just sat them in the bottom of the locker. And so when I was doing my rounds out on the plant, doing the trash and whatnot, I walked over, and it's loud in the plant. And I kind of leaned in and told her that I did what she requested. I put her 3 uniforms in the locker. And she was like, oh, thank you. And I now know, looking back, just the fact that I was engaged in small, short conversations with this individual, this in their minds sets you up for the narrative that they're later going to play. And some would say, well, you shouldn't have even engaged. Well, in the plant in which you work with different people, both male and female, That's a no-brainer. That is what you do. You converse, you communicate, because in many cases you have to. You communicate with one another because it's pertinent to the job. And in this case, it was no exception. And it was in the open. Everyone could visually see. And there were a couple of times where I thought she was talking a little extra. But the whole body language of these people, they are trying to give the illusion that they're all about you. You're just making them bubbly. You're just making them so happy. They're smiling extra. And they really don't have anything good on their mind. This is how much I know about this situation. And I just wanted to share that. And to the point of all of this, you've heard videos when you see these narcissists, when they've ran their course, when you see them in the state that they're in, they'll become unrecognizable. They don't recognize you. And when you see them in their very disgusting down state and destroyed state, because it will happen. In these two individuals' cases, they're not down on their last leg. But mind you me, it's a matter of time. Because you can run around in circles and you can do damage and dirt to the same people, and you forget that same person you're going to have to come back to and ask for nourishment. Just as Joseph's brother had to entertain him because they had a need. And ironically, Joseph had been raised up to power and control where he could have easily denied them. But he ran into another room and he wept uncontrollably. And it's ironic. He went into another room and wept uncontrollably. And his father, when the brothers told Joseph about, when the brothers told Joseph's father that he had been ravaged by wild animals, and they gave the dad the special coat that the dad had given Joseph as a gift, because he just loved him so much in a special way, not more than other ones, but he just loved him in a special way. I tell people he gave him a Versace coat of many colors, and it had goat's blood. They had dipped it in, and so or cow blood, whatever they did. They did that to emphasize and to show and prove that they were not lying, but they were deceitful. They were lying. And you'll see in that passage of the Bible where Joseph's father went and wept uncontrollable. He was inconsolable, is what the Bible said. Nobody could console him. And so you see both emphasis into this, where a person of a good heart and a good nature, when you take something very, very vital and key to them away from them, we may sob unconsolably, but we're getting it out of our system. We can weep unconsolably even when we see the narcissist destroyed. And I'm sure there's been some cases where an empath has sobbed, because in sobbing for these people, that is the epitome of the empathy, because we wished them no harm. We didn't want to see any demise come to them. Of course, we wanted their damage that they've done to other people to cease, of course. We don't wish no ill will on narcissists, and if you do, you shouldn't. But like David prayed for his enemies, I pray for the narcissists that God would deal with their asses ASAP. You have every right to pray that. Don't sit there talking about you need to intercede on behalf of the narcissist. Whatever church is trying to show you that BS, you pray against your enemies. You pray against them. Don't pray for them. You pray God's protection over you, and you pray that he deals with your enemies speedily. Remember, Saul chased David for no good reason. You ask someone to come in and console you, and I always thought David was playing some real holy music, and Saul probably just wanted to listen to some damn trap music. Probably wanted to listen to some. I was trying to think of this dude. Him and Drake got a beef going on, a fake beef. Don't believe the hype. Rose is what I was trying to say, whatever they call him. That was comparable to what Saul wanted to hear. He wanted to hear some Rose, and King David came in with the harp and played him some. Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. I want to praise him. So this is what happened when the narcissist asks you to console them, and you console them in a way that delights the Lord. It further infuriates them, and they want to kill you all the more. But to end this video, guys, 40 minutes, I enjoyed making it, and I just wanted to have a little conversation about a couple of things. Enjoy your Tuesday. Bless.